Okay, hello everybody and welcome to our 1 year anniversary. Just to be clear, this is not Pupcorn's 1 year anniversary. That's still in the works.
Yeah.
This is our 1 year anniversary.
We haven't killed each other yet.
Not yet. We thought we'd put a little special together for you guys. This is a list, a ranking of all the entertainment that we've experienced together. Not things that I've watched that you haven't seen yet or vice versa. This list is solely based on stuff that we've shared together.
Yes.
Movies, anime, video games, the works.
Yes.
We have a list of about 66 items here, so it's going to be a pretty big video, but we're only going to cover probably about 10% of that.
Yeah, so I think 18 or 19 different media options we've picked out. So as you can see, the screen looks a little bit different. Up top, we have our ranking. So it's how we rank different medias that we've watched, played, or enjoyed in any sense of the word. So a 1-star ranking is put it down. So I don't think I need to explain that one.
No.
That's the
bad stuff.
That's the bad one. 2-star ranking is take it to a shelter. 3-star ranking is take it for a walk. 4-star ranking is let it sleep on the bed. And a 5-star ranking is part of the family, so it gets all the snacks.
Yeah. And if you disagree with anything, that's cool. It's fine.
Let
These
us
are just
know.
our opinions.
It's exciting.
This isn't no definitive list or anything. A lot of this was very hard to put together, trying to rank a video game next to a movie.
Yeah, it
it's
was
awkward,
really
but
challenging.
We made it work.
So, and then down below, you're going to see scrolling across the screen all of the different medias and where they fall in our own personal lists.
Yeah.
We agree on a lot of things and we disagree on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So everything is going to be color-coded.
So we might have a movie fight rumble.
Oh, I could take them.
Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
But everything is color-coded. So scrolling across the bottom is going to be color-coded according to the rankings up at the top. That's how you're going to know which movies we enjoyed to which movies we don't enjoy. They're all listed in order from 1 to 67, I think. 67?
66.
Ooh, 66. Double sixes.
Get your fix on list 66.
So, and then also the movies and things that we include that we talk about, we are going to put the numbers up front where they fall in our personal rankings as we talk about them. They'll also be in the list below. So.
And we have some notes here just to keep on track. 'Cause as you know, we
ramble.
like to ramble.
So we're going to keep on track for this one.
Starting off, how did we meet? Well, we met online, and I saw your profile with the lovely 3 pictures and 2 sentences, and I fixated on, I love The Witcher.
Yeah.
You're not going to see The Witcher on this list because that was something that we already experienced before we started
So we didn't
dating.
watch it together.
Maybe, and I mean, take your time, stay safe. Henry Cavill already broke
Hurt
his shin
himself.
or something.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're going to get season 2 of The Witcher, and then we'll get our feelings out. But basically, my opening line was, toss a coin to The Witcher.
And I responded, oh, Valley of Plenty. And here we are a year later. So.
We went on a couple dates. They were a little awkward, but the one date that we went on was I asked you to see the Sonic the Hedgehog movie with me in theaters.
So, and I wasn't a huge video game person. It's something that I wanted to try, but I didn't own any consoles. I didn't own any games. It was just one of those thoughts people seem to really enjoy that. I bet it's fun. I'd like to try. So I was intrigued already by video games, but for the most part, didn't really play all that much. So I was like, oh, well, I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but sure, why not?
I thought it would be harmless, especially since the team went out of their way to fix the atrocious original design of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, so
they listened to feedback, they changed it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to watch it.
Sure.
Because I'm going to support the change.
Right, and that's actually the first thing that we saw together, and then after that, we had already talked about doing Pupcorn by this point, hey, it'd be really fun to create a space for nerd things of all kinds, and I was like, yeah, I'd totally be on board, and that was the first thing we saw, so it was the first thing that we put on this list to start ranking.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of spiraled from there.
Yeah, it went all over the place.
Yeah.
But Sonic the Hedgehog was I was surprised how much I enjoyed that.
I was really surprised by it, mainly because I'm very picky when it comes to putting animation with actual people.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's you can tell that they're interacting with either a man in a puppet suit or something like that. So I was surprised at the interaction, how they interacted the animation with the actors.
I felt like there was a decent enough chemistry because at first I was just well, not for nothing, there's at least Jim Carrey. I can have fun with that.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I like the small little references. I like the opening. I want to see more of that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the sequel. I want to see where it goes.
So the one thing, this is my last thought on this one before we move it along to number 2. But I think the thing that I like the most about that, they explained why Sonic is outdated.
Yeah.
So, like, that he's alone. He doesn't really communicate with people. So he's actually, like, saying phrases that aren't in.
Yeah.
Which is something Sonic is known for, to have catchphrases that are really popular at that time. And then, like, 2 years later, they're just completely outdated. So I really
Sonic
like
games
that.
Are like, with the exception of the Genesis games, and I think that's why most people like them the most.
Yeah.
Is that, like, he doesn't have much of a personality
Right.
outside of, like, the little...
So,
in the game, so he doesn't have those outdated phrases
Yeah.
and moments.
but I like that they kind of incorporated that they did
Yeah.
give him some outdated phrases, even for the time the movie came out.
Yeah, I thought that was a very clever thing.
Yeah.
And we saw one other movie in theaters before pandemic be damned.
Yeah.
Hit us and we all hid in our shelters, and that was Onward.
Yes.
Pixar movie that not many people remember now.
Yeah, which is a little bit upsetting. I have it ranked pretty high on my list.
I have it like middle to low. I didn't dislike it,
Yeah.
but like I've seen better.
Well, I definitely think it had a lot of like personal emotions for me.
Yeah.
So like my father had also passed away. So it was just kind of like nice to see a movie where that's the main focus, is like they're just trying to get their dad back. So it was like an emotional attachment for me. And then watching these two brothers go through like fighting with each other and, making up, seeing their strong points, their weak points. And then,
I'll be honest, it was the first third where I was just like, I might not like this.
Yeah.
And then like the rest of the movie kicked in and I was just like, no, this is actually really good.
I thought that it was a really great movie for nerds. Like, it's a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons style things, and like they make a lot of jokes about it. And I don't know, I thought it was charming. I thought it was a very charming movie.
charming film.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how like spot on the ending was.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
The only problem was, and this happens with a lot of things on this list, when I first wrote this list, it was in like the top 20s. As we go on and we see and experience more things,
were better.
Things I liked more started bumping it down.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a theme here.
Yeah, where there's going to be like really, really great movies and stuff that seem like they're low, but
Because,
that we struggled for days trying to like re-rank some things.
Because we're on lockdown, we decided to share some of our interests through like phone dates.
Yeah.
And we'd phone chat some of these movies.
So it's
And before you introduced me to like some anime, one of the animes that I was familiar with was a short called Hatorubi no Mori.
Oh no, he can't get away with this one. So for this movie, we were on a phone date and he goes, okay, what do you want to watch? And I just could not figure it out. I was having like a very stereotypical girl moment, like, I don't know, you pick. And you asked probably like 3 or 4 times, like, pick something. And I'm like, you do it. So he picks this movie and I cried so hard. And he's like, next time you'll pick a movie. And I was just so upset. But it turned out to be a really, really great film.
Yeah. It's a lovely little short about a girl that discovers a spirit who, and like right off the bat, you know where the story's going.
Yeah.
But the way they execute it, I think, is what makes it a
phenomenal.
masterpiece.
It was so good.
It is both of our like ranked 6
Yeah.
of 66.
It's
really
definitely
shot up
up
and
there.
it stayed up there.
Yeah.
It did not move down barely at all.
It was one of those types of movies. It is considered a short. It's like 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend go watch it. You have 45 minutes of time. It has a certain quality about it where it did not feel like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like by the end, I was like, no, there's more, right? The credits are rolling and I'm like, that's not it. Why did they have credits in the middle of a movie? That's dumb. Like tears rolling down my face and just like I wanted more. The animation was spectacular. The story was spectacular.
Such a small cast of characters.
Yeah.
Every single
It didn't
one,
need
from the
anything
side
else.
characters to the extras, serve their purpose and makes the story just pow.
Yeah, it was definitely a really, really great movie.
So like after that, I was just like, so is this what I'm going to be seeing? And then there was things like Soul Eater and
Yeah, and I
Fairy
was like,
Tail,
well,
and I was like,
not quite.
kinda.
Like it's a bit different. But that was definitely a movie that I think was a really nice introduction
it was a
to
nice
the art
introduction.
style.
Yeah.
But
Because I was familiar with watching like Studio Ghibli movies, but
Yeah.
not actual animes.
Right.
But I remember seeing that short once, and I'm just like, I really like this. I know she's gonna cry, but I'm just gonna reserve this.
Yeah.
And that particular day,
He was very
I
smug
was
about it
just
too.
like,
He was just like, Meanwhile, I'm just like crying like a bitch in my room. Like, fine, I'll just set the phone down here so you can't see me
This
cry.
is what happens when you date an aspiring dark lord. But throughout this relationship, we wanted to share a lot of things that like I normally wouldn't watch.
Yeah.
What's not on this list is the surprising amount of trash TV I ended up watching. But what was surprising was like the musical we watched this year.
Yeah.
Which was a very passionate project by Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. Which is like, that's something, I mean, you'll hear an argument and like a Gaming Cats and Dogs episode about musicals. I really like musicals. I love music. I pretty much will like anything that has a lot of passion in it.
Yeah.
And musicals tend to do that. So,
Yeah.
one of the movies that I really wanted to watch, I hadn't seen yet, and I kind of like made him watch it with me, was The Greatest Showman. So, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I was too. Like from the opening, I was just like, okay, I heard this song before.
Yeah.
I'm curious where it goes. And then by the end, I was just like, my heart is so full.
Yeah. It was a very
like,
good...
Was it Hollywoodized? Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a story of like the Barnum and P.T. Barnum
Yeah.
and like all that stuff. And like there's some dirt there.
Yeah,
sure, but
there's definitely
I think it
a
was
lot
the
that was
amount of effort
Hollywood.
that Hugh Jackman was putting into
Yeah.
that I had to fall in love.
So I have this thing where like I can pick out parts of movies that I just slightly obsess over, and for me, for this film, it was definitely the cinematography. Like the way that they moved the characters, the way that they costumed them. I think everything was just so well put together. I do understand that it's Hollywoodized and it's very different from the real story. So, but that's not why we were watching it. We were watching it to be entertained. So, and I definitely think it did that.
I was thoroughly enjoyed. It was so good.
All I can think
Was that
of.
the first time you watched it too?
Yeah, that was the first
amazing.
time that I saw it.
Because like, it's one of those things, and like I'll admit this is a flaw of mine. If you go on and on about something, I will spite you just to be like, fuck, I ain't
he's like,
watching
I'm not gonna watch it. It's
I
too
don't watch
popular.
it. Too popular. Wait for it to go around.
I think my favorite part though was like
I'll
both
be a
of
son
us.
of a bitch if it's effective when it works.
Both of us were tearing up, and I don't know if any of you guys watching have ever cried hard enough where you like hiccup. So I hiccuped, and it just ruined the moment for him. He was like, well, now I can't cry. So I was like, I'm sorry. But it was really funny. But yeah, I think that movie, it ranks fairly high for both of us as well. So it was a really, really great
Throughout
movie.
this year, there was a lot of very personal, passionate things.
Yeah.
That like we experienced. That like you were just like, God, I hope he likes this
Yeah.
and stuff. And like Studio Ghibli, I already really liked. But I wasn't familiar with most of his movies.
Yeah.
I remember Spirited Away.
The popular
We experienced
ones.
Ponyo. I had fun with that. But your favorite?
Howl's Moving Castle.
Yes.
It is actually my #1 movie that we watched together this year. Like overall media, that was just my favorite.
Yeah. I watched it as a teenager, but oddly enough, it did not leave much of an impression. I didn't dislike it. I didn't love it.
See, even that.
I finally understood the story.
The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that's cute. And then just the more I watched it, the more I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Like, that was a movie that I watched at least once a week. So especially during the pandemic, like
So
being
we're
stuck
well
at
overdue
home.
for that.
Yeah, I would put it on. It's something that I would play in the background while I was doing things, or like I would stop and watch it. So, and I think the reason that I love it so much is it encompasses a lot of different movie tropes, I suppose you could say. Like there is a lot of action in it. There's magic, there's some romance, there's curses and secrets, and I think that it does really well with putting all of those different things together in one movie without one aspect overshadowing another one.
Absolutely.
So, and yeah, when we watch it together, and I was like, do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see how like the magic works? And you're just like, oh my God, can I just not? And I'm so excited about it. But that's actually my #1 on the ranking movie list was Howl's Moving Castle.
My #1 is Klaus. I already gushed about Klaus, so we're not going to dive too much in. If you really want to know more about Klaus and why I think it's a masterpiece, go check out the Pupcorn Movies Klaus video.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just things that you were passionate about.
Right.
There were also some passions that I shared with you. we had a bit of a rocky start because I started her with some Sega Genesis video games.
Yeah, specifically, I think it was the first video game that you had me play was World of Illusion. Keeping in mind, I don't play video games. I think the last time that I played a video game was actually Sega Genesis. I was probably 8 years old playing Mortal Kombat with my brother.
She's amazing at Mortal Kombat.
I try.
She invited me in the arcade at that party.
Arcade games are completely different, by the way. I play arcade games. But playing World of Illusion was really challenging for me because it was the first one that we had played. I'm not a good jumper. I couldn't understand the depth perception of the game, so he's like, just jump on that. And I'm like, but it's in the background.
That you played, because I feel like you played another one when I lent you the emulator.
Oh, yeah.
Before we were able to
I think I was still trying to play Aladdin.
Emulator and you were playing Aladdin.
I was trying. Keep that trying. So like that was the first time that I held like a controller and we played together and you were there, and not gonna lie, I cried a lot. So
you beat it. You stuck it out until the end.
I did. But what was really frustrating, I think the part where I just lost it was at the very end, like the final boss battle, and I just couldn't figure it out. I kept dying, and then you had pulled up videos on YouTube about how to beat it, and all these videos, the content creators were just like, this is the easiest boss battle, and here I am, like, I can't figure it out, I can't beat it, and I just got so mad that I, like, paused the game, tears rolling down my face, and I'm gonna go make lunch. Like, I had to, like, take a break. But I did come back and I did beat it.
You did beat it. So what were your thoughts about maybe less of the experience, since it was a very unpleasant experience?
I think that Sega has a really, really great aesthetic. The game is how old, and it still looks really good.
Yeah,
so like
1995.
The aesthetic is still really great. It's clear, the colors are amazing. I think even I have a hard time grasping the story. Like, I get the end goal, where it's like the characters have to get to the end. But even like looking back at it, I want to play it again now that I've played a couple of games. I've, held a few different controllers. I can like jump a little better. So I want to try it again because I feel like if I played it again where I'm at now, it would definitely rank a little higher than where I have it currently, because it was one of the first games that I felt a lot of frustration. And personally, I'm not very good at being made to do things I'm not good at.
So I feel like that is the perfect gaming cats and dogs.
Yeah. So you guys may see that in the future.
Tag team it.
So you'll see me die a lot. But yeah, I think that was definitely an introduction into games I wasn't expecting.
Right.
Like, I thought I was going to pick up a controller and just be good. I didn't. Like,
hasn't
I was
happened
awful.
She's gravitated towards the RPG.
Yeah, it's harder to be bad at an RPG. Yeah.
I'm stubborn, but I'm still not having fun.
Where it's like, it's not that I don't have fun the entire time. Like, even playing World of Illusion, there were certain times where I'm like, this is really fun. And then it would get to a part where I just, like, couldn't understand what I needed to do. And you're like, just jump over the branch. And I'm like, I didn't know that's what I was supposed to do. Yeah. So I just, like, I've developed more.
In the first year, there's already been an evolution,
Yeah.
Which is like an evolution. But basically, at starting off, it's just like, why don't you just jump? And she's just like, I don't know if I can.
And now
it's just like, why don't you just jump? Why don't I just punch you in the throat?
Yeah. I've developed the gamer rage without the gamer skill. So, which is fun.
But it wasn't just games that I introduced her to. I introduced you to quite a few other things that like I was familiar with. Like a show that sadly did not make it past 2 seasons called Gallivant.
Yes.
And if you love Mel Brooks films, if you love The Princess Bride,
I highly
recommend
similar.
Gallivant. It had music by Alan Menken.
Yeah.
The soundtracks to like the Disney Renaissance films. It has my favorite Richard is played by Timothy Osmond?
Osmond? Olmond?
Maybe.
He's in a lot of nerd things. So he plays in Psych. He plays Lassie in Psych. If you watch Supernatural, if you don't, you should, because it's fantastic. But he plays Kane, so he's in a lot of like really, really popular TV shows, even if we don't know his last name.
And he plays King Richard in Gallivant, and he is excellent.
Yeah, he is really
funny. He steals the show. It also has Vinnie Jones.
Yeah.
Or,
they're like...
way to blow it. Right.
I enjoy him so much. There's a lot that I really, really love about Gallivant. It can be exhausting.
Okay.
So it's one that like I can watch 2-3 episodes at a time, but after that I'm just like almost burnt out.
Yeah.
Kind of like how you got with a couple of the animes that I showed you. Like by a certain point you're just like, I can't retain information anymore.
Yeah.
So it's about the length of a movie that I can handle, and then it's after that I'm just kind of like tired because it is a very high energy show. So and we
went through the first season. We have a bit more of the second season.
I think there's only a few episodes
in the last
season. But it is a really, really great show. I enjoy it. So for me, it's small doses.
It's my kind of humor.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's a really, really funny TV show. So and the music is hilarious, but also really well composed, which I think makes it even better. So,
but, I ranked it fairly high, and you didn't rank it too much lower.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's great. It's really great. For me, I'm relatively introverted. I get like drained by people very easily. Mm-hmm. So when even experiencing something super high energy, I can kind of get drained because I'm so invested in it that I'm like, okay, I'm there, but I'm tired now. So, but one of the things that I introduced you to that I was actually really nervous because I love this movie a lot and I was worried that it would be too similar to movies that you don't like, that you wouldn't like it. And that was The Little Prince. The Little Prince was one of my favorite books growing up. I read it in a couple different languages. Aww. So it was something that I felt very close to, and I loved the movie so much that that's one that we watched over the phone during quarantine.
I just realized how high you ranked it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
you really love that movie.
It's pretty high in my ranking. And one of the reasons I love it so much is because of the animation. Mm-hmm. So it's like completely done in paper. So of course there's CG and everything like that, but it has the quality of like ripped paper, folded paper, as well as the CG characters that you're following the story with. So I just think it was really, really clever that when they go into storytelling mode, it transfers into like the paper characters, the paper settings, and like the way that they transition between the CG characters and the paper characters, I think is really clever and really well done.
It was a cute movie. And I don't say that term loosely, but like, I just found it, I was like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Its heart's in its right place. It has a nice message.
For me, it was a very nostalgic movie, so I think that's why it ranked so high for me as well, is because like I read the book.
I don't know if I did or not.
So just doing those different things, I think that it was a really cleverly put together movie.
Okay. And, so as we're experiencing all this stuff, we found a similarity. We like Hayao Miyazaki.
Yes.
So we did some research on him for the video, and we discovered that he was vastly influenced by a little animation called Panda and the Magic Serpent. What I can say about Panda and the Magic Serpent is similar to how I feel about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yes.
I don't hate it. I don't love it.
It plays a very important role in the development of people and programs that we do love.
Yes.
So I
understand its importance, but that doesn't mean it's not without flaws.
So I think both of us can agree on like the reason that Panda and the Magic Serpent isn't higher on both of our lists. I do believe I have it ranked much higher than you do, would be understanding that it's a cultural difference and a generational difference. This movie was from I believe like the 1950s.
Yeah.
And it was I believe from China.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we might not understand, not only from a generation standpoint, but a cultural standpoint. So,
okay.
But overall, I think that it is a very important movie. I wasn't as moved by it as I thought I would be.
I wasn't expecting to be moved, but I kind of got the feeling that it's just like, wow, look what we can make. We can make a full-length, feature-length film. It's so long. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's very long. Like, there's a part, the characters, if you guys haven't seen it, again, it's something like, you can take it or leave it. You know, if you really appreciate Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli and his influences, I recommend go check it out. If not, completely fine. Like, I don't feel as though you're missing out on much. But, like, the main female character lets the main male character, like, take the blame for a crime he didn't commit. And she's just like, hey, bye! Like, I think that's the thing that bothered me the most. Is she was just like, hey, thanks. And then she just goes away.
It wasn't so much that bothered me. It was the fact that, like, that caused the plot to just be like, and then.
But it wasn't even those two, the two main characters that was like, and then. There's Cinderella style, like, little animal characters.
Yeah.
And, like, Panda becomes, like, the leader of a criminal syndicate. Like, it was just really bizarre. Like, it was a very bizarre movie to me.
It felt like two movies were happening at the same time.
That's what I said. I was
And,
like, Cinderella and the Chamber of Secrets.
She's
like, it's weird.
Okay,
like,
thanks,
it's a very...
bye. That movie pauses.
And
then they start the Panda movie.
Yeah, and then
they're like, oh, right, we had another movie going.
Yeah, and they try to, like,
resume
incorporate it. So, again, I feel like that movie is you could take it or leave it. You know, watch a couple reviews and you get the idea. You know, you don't have to waste just time.
Yeah. So, before we continue, let's take a little break, and then we're going to talk about Fairy Tail.
Fairy Tail.
So Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail was a show that, if you remember our first impressions, my first impressions that is, I wasn't a big fan of it. I liked the characters.
I was worried.
But it was a little sporadic. We finally get the plot to pick up and stuff, and it really jumped in the ranks. I thoroughly enjoy Fairy Tail now, and it makes me a little more,
Open.
Yeah, open is a good
I was
word.
worried. I was like going through the list I
anime.
have of animes to show him, and I was like, well, if he doesn't like Fairy Tail, that one's off the table, and this one, I'm like, oh god, I have nothing to show him.
Yeah.
Like, I was glad that
I'm still going to be
it went
honest
up.
with my first impressions, but
Yeah.
going forward, I'm definitely going to be like, I'm going to give this until episode 20, or
Yeah.
I'm going to give this until like.
Well, I think the big
season.
thing, you know, once it was funny because like once that first arc picked up, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to like watch an episode of Fairy Tail?" And I was like, "Ooh, okay." He doesn't completely hate it.
No, so at this time, we just finished the first season.
Yeah. Well, we finished what was available on Netflix.
Oh,
So I think it was like, I think it's 2 seasons actually, like up
Okay.
to episode 52.
Okay.
So,
alright.
but there was like 300 episodes. But I remember like when that happened and kind of explaining like a lot of animes will do that. They spend a lot of extra time in the beginning to have you get to know the characters and get to know their backstories and what they're about. So that way when the first big battle happens,
Yeah.
you are like, oh, how could they do that? Like, so the first big battle happens in Fairy Tail, and the people who are fighting with the Fairy Tail wizards are being like really mean to them and like
Yeah.
crapping all over everything Fairy Tail stands for. And the viewers, Wesker agrees,
Yeah.
the viewers are just like, how could they be so mean to Fairy Tail?
Yeah.
And that's because they spend the first 10 episodes really building up the characters.
Establishing
And
guild. Yeah.
so I think that a lot of animes do that.
Yeah, it's nice. Like, even going so far as to explain a story reason why Gray doesn't have a shirt on.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, you were just like, I thought it was
I was
just
like, well, that's clever.
some guy that doesn't
Oh,
wear
it's
his
just
clothes.
some dumb gag.
Like,
It's gonna be running. I'm just like, this running
Yeah.
gag. Yay.
whereas like everyone has a reason for why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
So no, I'm excited because now we are caught up in Fairy Tail where we have now seen the same amount of episodes. Like I haven't seen past episode 52. So it's going to be interesting to like experience it for the first time
nice
together.
to be like, the first time I was like, I don't know. And then
I'm
my
like,
mind was
please,
changed
just
and I was
like-
just like, nah, I'm gonna revert. As Ebert once
Yeah.
said, actually it was Siskel, I'm gonna twist my thumb.
Yeah.
Here we go. Twist my thumb.
There you go.
and change my vote. I really like Fairy Tail. I'm excited for the rest. Unlike also this year, there was something that someone said, you'll like this one because you didn't like that. And that is Frozen 2. Frozen 2 was a movie where it's just like, it's better than the first one, and you weren't the biggest fan of the first one. After seeing Frozen 2, I'm just like, allow me to correct myself. I love the first half of Frozen. The second half, I think, is like, we're just gonna go through drafts and shoot the shit and see whatever sticks, because it feels like a different movie than what the first half of Frozen is setting up.
Like,
but Frozen 2...
For me, Frozen 2, like, whatever with the story. Like, come on, man. I mean, ice is the fifth element. No, you couldn't, like, pull something out, like, love for your family. No, we're gonna go with ice. Like,
it felt like
it
something
was
that was like
frustrating.
visually interesting.
Oh,
but the plot, I felt like
I
Mad
feel like
Libs.
that's what they were doing. That it was just the animators flexing what they can do with their animation skills. Like, screw the plot, screw the characters, like everything that was established in the first movie, they just kind of like threw it in the trash, and they're like, all right, we're doing this now. Because the animation was stunning.
Yeah.
It was a very beautifully put together movie.
I can agree
with
that.
everything except the plot and characters.
Yeah, I was just
Visually, it's great.
disappointed that like from the setup I was like, and then the second half and I was just like, where's this going?
Yeah.
And then the third half and I was just like, really?
Yeah.
That's what this was building to?
So, and it's like, I feel like they attempted with the storyline and characters for it to grow with the audience from the first Frozen, but they did it to the point where it's like almost an adult movie. Like,
I was surprised.
Olaf is having an existential crisis the entire movie where he's like, I'm gonna die, I'm old, I'm scared, and it's just like, this is a little kid's movie. Not saying that like kids shouldn't be exposed to those things, but it was in a very odd way that they did that.
Well, not only that,
Like,
it was...
Anna sings an entire song about like her depression and wanting to die, and I'm just like, I don't know where they're going with this. Like, it felt like a very dark, grown-up movie for...
I disagree. I felt like it was trying to be both. I felt like it was trying to be too dark and then too stupid.
Yeah.
I thought Olaf was so annoying compared to the first movie.
Yeah.
He like reenacts the first plot, and I'm just like, well, this is annoying.
Yeah.
And like I think the only new character I liked was like the little salamander.
No, oh, he was so
was
cute.
cool.
He was so cute.
But like the fact that it was just like Elsa is once again gonna like give everyone the shaft and go her own way, which I'm just like, oh,
I love.
You mean like you were supposed to do with the first movie?
We
but
had
kinda,
a
like,
bet
copped
going.
out?
We had a bet going. I don't know if you remember, because we watched this one a while ago. This is not one of like the freshly watched movies. So we had a bet going when Elsa was like, I promise I won't leave. I promise. And we're like, so how far in do you think it's going to take before she leaves?
Yeah,
like,
she leaves.
So, and it was just an absurd plot line. Like, that's all I can say. The plot was just terrible. The characters, they just completely undid everything that they built up in the first movie. But that animation, beautiful.
And I'll go into spoilers. To hell with it. They went through all of that to like prevent Arendelle and like evacuate the city. And then they save the city anyways at the last second.
The very
they're
last second.
preparing you for this loss, to move on from loss.
Yeah.
And then they're just like,
Just
nah,
kidding.
we're not going to destroy the city.
Be okay.
Even though there's no people in there.
Yeah, again, the plot was just terrible. I think it was terrible for adults. It was terrible for kids. It was like almost that it wasn't dark enough for adults, but it was too dark for kids. So it's just like, it was just bad. Yeah, it was just bad. Like, yeah, that one was not good. But speaking of plot and characters, we watched The Crocodile Hunter Collision Course. I wanted to see this movie so bad, and he actually had it on DVD. So we watched it, and I was so pleasantly surprised. Like, it brought me so much nostalgic joy.
It's
it was
half
absurd.
a nostalgic trip and half a, God, Hollywood will just do anything, won't it?
So it's basically like The Crocodile Hunter meets Hollywood movie, and the whole time Steve Irwin is just being Steve Irwin. Like, it's almost like they didn't tell
Australian Deadpool.
Well, it's almost like they didn't tell him he was going to be in a Hollywood movie, and they're like, let's just let him do him, but film a movie around him being him.
Splice in a regular episode against this elaborate plot.
Oh my God,
about, like this very expensive satellite piece being eaten by a crocodile.
So it just, the whole time, like, it's him in the truck, like, driving these exotic animals, like, to safer locations. And these Americans, which are hilarious how they portrayed, like, the American agents. Because the whole time they're like, Australia's not that bad. And then they cut to Steve Irwin, like, look at this beauty, venomous snake. And it's, like, killing things. And they're like, nothing can hurt you in Australia. And then there's, like, a spider the size of a house cat. Like, so the American agents are just hilarious to me in this movie. And I think the part where I just lost it, I lost all hope of it being, like, plot-wise a good movie, was the American agents are chasing Steve Irwin in the truck, and he's like, talking to the camera as though he's on an episode of The Crocodile Hunter. And then he goes, these blokes are out of their minds. Like, it's just so bizarre. But it was like, to me, it was such a cute, like, nostalgic trip.
There's a wholesomeness to it.
Yes. It was just like a trip down memory lane. Like, Steve Irwin was one of my favorite people growing up. I loved him so much. Like, it hurt so bad when he died, because I think I was in high school when he died, and I was just devastated.
It was nice to see someone passionate about reptiles.
Yeah.
Because at the time of growing up...
No one is. Like,
people,
you don't see...
Like, even nowadays, like, people still go on about dogs and cats, and
yeah,
I love
and
them too.
But there's,
there
like,
used to be,
snakes
like,
are
just
just as
a
cool,
hatred
and,
of
like...
lizards and snakes.
Yeah.
So to see him be so passionate about things that could kill you...
Yeah.
I think was, like, a huge opening.
Yeah.
And really brought forth a better generation
right for animals. But that was just such a nostalgic trip down memory lane to see Steve Irwin, and how he interacted with animals was just really special to see that again, even though the plot was just so bizarre.
Yeah, it was a goofy plot.
It was really a goofy
grab a champagne movie. And just like whatever happens. It's a goofy movie, but I was smiling the whole time.
Now, another goofy movie that we watched where we weren't smiling the whole time was The Fly.
Yeah, the remake.
Yes.
Because it was an old,
1984
1950s movie. This was a 1980s.
Yeah.
And this was when you kind of discovered that, like, I don't cry in movies. I react differently. Like, I'll get hollow and depressed if I find a movie very tragic and sad.
That and you obsess over it. You're like, well, this could have happened, and then that could have happened. And if this would have gone that way, this would have happened. I'm like, it's a movie.
It's a tragedy.
We watched it 3 weeks ago. Let it go.
It's a romance. It's a science fiction. It's a horror. It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
It's such brilliant storytelling.
See, I definitely thought it was more of a tragic movie rather than a horror film. Like, there wasn't one point in the movie that I was scared. Or even
visually, it's like messed up.
Oh, visually, it's insane. So you're literally watching him turn into a fly.
Countless awards for that, for all the work he did. The makeup is phenomenal.
The thing that I was most impressed about with this movie, because I do believe that mine is ranked.
The Thing is another movie. We'll talk about that someday.
Mine is ranked lower than yours.
Yes.
So I think the thing that I appreciated the most about this movie was the character list. There's only a handful of characters, maybe under 10 for sure. And it doesn't feel empty. Like, it doesn't feel like it needs more characters. So I really appreciated how they did that.
Yeah.
Where they kept the cast very small. Everyone that was in there, there's not really a side character. Everyone that's in there serves a purpose. They advance the plot in some kind of way.
Even the, like, douchey boyfriend or whatever, he has a huge purpose in this plot.
So it's definitely like everything happens for a reason in the movie, and I think that's why it is ranked higher than some of the other movies on my list. I'm not a huge fan of the 80s, which is why I think it isn't ranked higher.
Yeah, whereas I love 80s movies.
So whereas
and I'm born in the 90s,
yeah,
but
you're
like,
definitely
I was
an
raised
80s.
with the 80s films.
Oh, so was I, and I think that's why I don't like it.
Yeah, storytelling.
I had the feathered hair.
like all the stuff, like they had so little to work with, but they really pushed the envelope and really like grinded everything to like a pulp to try and make a good picture. Unlike nowadays where I feel like it's the opposite. We have so many
resources
that we kind of like overblow and lose focus of what's important.
See, and I can agree with that. I think for me, it's not necessarily like the fundamentals of filmmaking that I don't like about the 80s, because I definitely love way more of the graphics and things in the 80s than like the cheesy fake CG graphics now. It's the style. Okay. Like the cheesy lines, that kind of thing. It's what was in the 80s, and I'm just like, you know, it's not something that I seek out, but I enjoy when I watch it.
Yeah. And I don't like talking about it, but like I just have to admit that like that is what matters to me most in a story, and knowing that. And I feel like I'm very snobbish when I'm not even that talented of an artist myself. I don't have a finger of talent that those people had. Maybe even
here we are,
a
like,
sliver
critiquing it.
of them nowadays. But like in my heart, I know that if I did have that talent, that's what I'd want to focus on.
Yeah.
If I could make something a story, a film, that's what I would focus on. I'd watch the 80s films and be like, they did this, I'd follow suit with that.
Yeah.
That's just in my heart as like
Right.
an artist or someone who wants to create things.
Yeah.
That's what I look forward to. So I very much enjoyed it, and I was hollow at like it just ends.
See, whereas I would more or less want to do like an animated film. I don't think I would want to work with people. So, I'd be like, I'll just draw everyone. It's fine. But yeah, that was definitely a type of movie where we both, like, when it ended, we were like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just hurt. Like, nobody won. Like, no one won in that movie. It had a very sad ending. So it was something like we contemplated for a while afterwards. So,
So, speaking of that, so like I'm very passionate about like old style of film, saying like, hey, you have so little resources, but you use them so wisely and you make a good product. If you've noticed a trend with like gaming cats and dogs or this channel in general, I like to stick it to modern Disney every chance I can get. And there was one moment where I thought they'd like come in between and meet me halfway, because Disney wanted to do a film based on video game culture called Wreck-It Ralph.
whew,
I'll just say it. I'm not a fan of Wreck-It Ralph.
neither of us were. So,
I understand why people would like it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it passionately like I hate the Disney live action
Right.
remakes. But for me, I'm just like, this is just not what I had in mind.
I really enjoyed the beginning. So I really liked seeing that, like, Wreck-It Ralph is a villain. He didn't want to be a villain. He's in like a support group for villains. So I thought it was like a really clever way to incorporate these characters playing their role. But I think I like zoned out in the middle. Like, it was just really boring.
It bothered me.
And then the ending was fine. Like, I thought the ending was really cute, where he's like, he's the villain, but everyone else in the game is like, good job, Ralph. Like, you know, he kind of accepts his role, and everyone else in his game accepts that he's the villain in the game, not outside of the game.
Yeah.
So I thought
like
the beginning
moral.
and the end were really well done, but the entire middle part of the movie, I just like checked out.
The problem with the middle part is like he's in that sweet candy land for like that in pretty much
For a really long time.
2/3 of the movie. And the character of Penelope is one of my least favorite Disney characters.
I think that's what it was. It went from like Ralph being the main character to Penelope being the main character.
Yeah. And her voice, the jokes, her character in general, I was not a fan of this character. And
That's
I
why
was
I
just
checked
like,
out. I was just like, and I'm gone.
No. I was so annoyed by this character and very disappointed that like there was like game jumping, and I thought he was like going to discover himself through a series of events and be more of a personal journey. And he just kind of like goes to the hero's duty or whatever, gets a medal, and then he goes to the candy lane and he's stuck there. And the whole plot's there. And the real villain's there.
As opposed to
and
like
the real
jumping through more games.
point of the story.
So that's what I mean by I think it went from Ralph being the main character to now Penelope is the main character. And like, I understand that she is the catalyst. She develops him as a character.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's not what I was expecting from the movie. You know, I wasn't expecting this annoying little character to be the main character.
Honestly, there were a lot of moments where I was reminded of Pixels, where it was Hollywood trying to be like, we get game culture, and I'm like, no, you don't. just
like,
don't. Like, don't pander to me.
I feel like someone like me that's like, I've played a video game, like, wrote this story, and it's just like, you don't get it at all, do you?
But like, I do find like there's a funny story behind it, and like I don't know exactly how the events worked out, but basically Disney was just like, we're making a video game and we're gonna try to get some beloved characters, and they approached Nintendo. They're just like, we're gonna give you this much money for Mario, and Nintendo just kind of looked at us just like, well, that's enough for Bowser, but you're not getting Mario. Well, what the hell do you think you are? It's just like, no, we'll get Mario. And they're just like, nah, you can have Bowser, and if you want to add more money, maybe you can get Luigi.
Poor Sega's like, you
like,
can have
Sonic! Here's Sonic!
You can have him! Please! Make us relevant again!
So, like, looking back, because they were so bitter about it, they did like Bowser and that's it.
Yeah.
But there's actually quite a few Sega Easter eggs.
Yeah.
From like Golden Axe, Altered Beast, Sonic the Hedgehog. Like there's quite a few Sega Easter eggs. And so
speaking of Sega.
Yeah.
With the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
One thing that we mentioned a bit earlier. Sega Aladdin.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's hear about this one because this is a debate that's happened since the origin of time itself, gaming time.
So
what's better, Super Nintendo's Aladdin or Sega Genesis? Mind you, you have not played the Super Nintendo yet. But what can you tell us about Sega's Aladdin?
I haven't played through the entire thing yet. That's for sure. I watched you beat it. Now, I love the aesthetic. I think it looks great. Even like the point. So like you get the apples, you can throw the apples, you have your sword. I hate the gameplay.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like I love the look of it. Like it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's not going to age at all. It looks
fantastic.
like you're playing a cartoon. I do not like the way that company structures their games.
It just like there's no foreground, there's no background. So it's like I'm trying to get to this place and you're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know how to get here. And you're like, you have to jump on the trees. Oh, I thought that was background.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the background. So it's like
the game constantly snaps between interacting with the foreground and the background.
To not being allowed to do that.
And there's also like
very,
hidden
very
paths
confusing.
where, you got to go behind that.
Yeah, it's very, very confusing. And then there's an enemy behind that, but you can't see the enemy, so you also can't fight the enemy.
Right.
You just have to take the hits. I don't like that. I don't like that when he swings his sword, he has to be a certain distance. If he's too close, it doesn't do any damage.
Right.
But if he's too far away, it doesn't do any damage. There's like that one sweet spot, but you can't see the enemy anyway, so it's like, well, I'll just take the hits.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
I
just think it's really, really confusing.
I prefer the gameplay of the Super Nintendo version, and that's just me.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you'll play it and be like, I don't really like either. And that's fine.
I don't like jumping in general.
I don't like jumping. It's not a thing.
And that whole video game is just like you have to jump from one location to the other. Like,
yeah.
But again, it looks beautiful. I don't like the way that it plays.
I don't either.
So I think that it definitely could have been improved on. Again, understanding that this is an older game.
Yeah.
You know.
I was in shock how many people were just like, oh, this is the one with the sword. It's awesome. I'm just like, yeah, but it plays like ass.
Like, yeah, I don't understand.
Sword sucks.
It's useless. Like, it doesn't. I throw apples.
You take
like,
so
I
much
hoard the
damage
apples and I
compared to
throw
like.
the apples. Like.
Ugh.
But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the Sega Genesis Aladdin. It's pretty low on my list.
Yeah,
it's
not much higher on mine.
I do have some things that are a little bit higher than Aladdin when it comes to video games, and I do have some things lower. Like World of Illusion is lower on my list than Aladdin. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I haven't actually finished the game yet.
Yeah.
So
who knows? Maybe we'll see it again. In the gaming Cats and Dogs I was playing.
Yeah, I was just
like if you want to know a more in-depth feeling about like our thoughts, go watch the Aladdin. It's only 3 episodes.
It's pretty
the
short.
Aladdin playthrough. It's a short.
It's funny though because I'm just like, how do you know? But I get really upset. But one thing I didn't get upset about is loving Vincent.
No, you are very adamant about your love for Vincent Van Gogh.
Yeah, he's my favorite artist.
You were very reserved in watching that.
Yeah.
Because, like, you mentioned it was your favorite film, and I was like, you want to watch it? It's just like,
I was like, maybe later.
I don't want you to tear into this. Because this was after you realized that I can get very passionate, but I also just tear into shit.
So I was like, I don't really want you to do that. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen Loving Vincent, to me, it's a really, really, really well done movie. Mm-hmm. I can see and understand how it could be boring to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Basically, it takes place after Vincent Van Gogh has died.
Yeah.
And there's another character who's a friend of the family.
Yeah.
Trying to get a letter to the Van Gogh family.
Yeah.
Trying to get a letter to Theo. And he, like, goes from hating Vincent Van Gogh, thinking that he was useless, and then as he's talking to people and meeting people that Vincent knew, he starts to wonder, like, did Vincent Van Gogh kill himself, or was he murdered? Which is, you know, I have an education in art history. I'm very passionate about art history. So, and that's a timeless argument of, like, what actually happened to him. So, and what they did is they took all of Van Gogh's paintings and they animated them. So, and the entire movie is done in his paintings.
It's a beautiful
animated.
visual style.
It's well
done.
And I think that's the biggest reason why I love it so much, and just my love for Van Gogh.
What made me enjoy it, like, it's one of the movies that went down just because, again, as the year went on, I had to be honest and be like, there were things I liked more. But I was relating to the main character. The main character was, like, connecting the audience in my eyes. I didn't hate Vincent Van Gogh, but I was just like, all right, let's just see what it is. So I was just indifferent. And as the story continues and he gets more invested, I, as the viewer, got more invested in the story, the characters, where the plot was going. And even, like, the resolution was just kind of like, does it really matter?
So, and that's the thing, by the end of the movie, by the end of the film, like, nothing has been resolved. Because we still don't know. Like, we don't know what happened to Van Gogh. All we know is that he didn't make it. So, like, the entire film was put together based off of letters between Van Gogh, the Van Gogh brothers. So, Theo and Vincent.
I did not love this movie. I didn't find flaws with it, but I didn't fall in love. I completely understand why you do.
I literally have 2 murals of Van Gogh's work in my house.
Art direction, characters, pacing, the mystery, the intrigue, the way it just kind of reels you into the story that, like, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. Who's the bad guy?
It very much is like a mystery movie. You know, so it can feel slow.
And, like, there's no, like, he's the killer, book him, Jimmo.
And just by the end, it's like, well, the end. Like, we get to see that main character grow and develop, but, I mean, there's still no resolution. You know?
So that was something you were reserved, and it turns out I liked it.
Yeah.
There was another thing you were reserved about, based on something you already saw, and
it turns out we both hated it.
Turns out we both were just like, what the hell is this?
I went through like a haunted house phase, I guess, where it's like, I love, even now, like, I love watching The Haunting, things like that. And this show came out on Netflix, The Haunting of Hill House, and it was so good. It was scary, it was intriguing, like, it had really good pacing, the characters, cinematography, it was all there. So when I saw that they came out with the second one, Haunting of Bly Manor, I was like, oh, there's another one. It's, you know, and then I had that thought of, like, I don't know, like, Haunting of Hill House was pretty scary. Like, I slept downstairs with the light on, because it just, like, gets in your head. So I was thinking, like, well, I really want to watch Bly Manor, but I don't want to watch it by myself in case I get scared. So I convinced you to watch it with me.
That you did.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It's so bad.
I didn't entirely hate it because there were, like, little nuggets of things where I'm just like, that's a nice idea. But they just go off on this huge side quest or whatever the hell.
I know, it's just like
focusing on shit that I'm just like, is this important right now?
Does
this have to be, like, 8 hours long? Oh my God. Every episode, it starts with just like, I'm invested. A long period of time where I'm like, has anything happened?
Nothing goes on.
Over-explaining, over-analyzing, and then, like, right at the end, oh, that looks interesting. Next episode. Fuck!
You're just like, God damn it. Now, keeping in mind, we didn't finish Bly Manor.
No, we made it through the first 3 episodes, and I was just like, this is exhausting.
It was so bad.
It is a draining
I think,
piece
like,
of
I don't know about
entertainment.
But the only reason it isn't in, like, the last bracket for me of being completely terrible, like, I wouldn't put it down, is because it still was really well filmed. In the sense of, like, the setting, the costumes, like, everything was it looked really pretty. You know, it looked really good. But it falls into that same category as Frozen 2, where, like, it looks really good, but the plot is just crap. Like,
it's not scary.
Yeah, it's not scary.
I
So
was
if you want to
expecting-
watch it because you like Hill House, don't do it. It's a love story, not a
Yeah, if you're
haunting
fine with
story.
like a romance and
yeah,
you're cool with that, just
if you like
know
romance,
from the
it'll
get-go,
probably,
it's a romance.
Yeah, it's not
Maybe
like,
it's for you.
a scary movie.
We were prepared for a horror.
I wanted to be scared, and I was like, "Yay! I get
You're
to
like, oh.
be scared," and be like, "Oh no, I'm scared!" And it's
okay,
like,
so this is the moment where the
meanwhile, we
boyfriend
fell
has to
asleep.
be
We were like,
scared
"Are
with-
you still awake?" No,
Oh my
I'm
God.
not awake anymore. It was bad. It wasn't the worst one that we saw.
Oh God.
One that was way worse.
You warned me about this.
I
one.
did. I saw it first, and then I made you watch it.
As a
As
last hurrah after we finished the anime.
So we watched the anime Death Note, which is arguably one of the best animes available.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
It's so good.
I mean, that's coming from critics, that's coming from other viewers, people that love anime.
It's not what you expect
it
an
is
anime
art,
to be.
right. It is arguably one of the best put together animes.
Yeah.
However, Netflix decided to remake it
Yeah.
into a movie. Netflix's Death Note.
It's hot garbage.
It's worse than
trash.
hot garbage. Like, I would rather
Even if you
deeply
don't know
inhale
source
the smell of hot
material,
garbage.
The plot itself is
Like,
not very good.
It, like, I can't even think in
Like
terms of, like,
bastardization of characters aside,
oh,
it's just not
bad.
good.
It's so bad. And it's just, like, like, I'm not a politically correct advocate.
Mhm.
There are certain things that I'm like, yes, please don't say that, please don't do that. But, like, this movie is the definition of whitewashing, like a cultural movie. So they took
Yeah.
everything that made Death Note special and they were just like,
Americanized it.
toss it. Like, it takes place in Seattle.
Yeah.
And, like, the main character, Light, who anyone who has seen the anime, you know Light is, like, a very, very intelligent person. He plots, like, everything hundreds of steps in advance. Like,
Yeah.
he knows what's going on.
Yep.
Light in the movie is, like, he screams
emotional
and
dipshit.
cries and, like, has no idea what's going on. They murdered Elle. There's no way to, like, Elle in this movie is not Elle. The only thing
Nobody
that
in
they
this
made
movie
him
is
Elle
anybody.
was they, like, show him eating candy once, and it's like, oh, well, Elle had a sweet tooth, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a bad representation of this.
And, like, I
anime.
don't want to blame it on the actors, because I felt like there were some performances there. The guy who played L, I could tell he could act.
Yeah,
I just-
the actors were like Willem Dafoe was in it. Like
Yeah.
he played Ryuk. He
just
plays
didn't
the
have much to
Shinigami,
do.
and it's just like they just took the characters and they were just like, nah, we're not gonna do that. So, like, it scares me, anyone that sees Netflix's Death Note before watching the anime, and then they go to watch the anime, they're in for, like, a huge shock.
Yeah.
Because they are nothing alike.
No.
They take the basic concept of, like, the Shinigami and the Death Note,
Yeah.
and then they just, like, run away with it. So, but they leave so many things out. It was worse than a dumpster fire.
I don't think it was the absolute worst thing on my list, but
Yeah,
man,
I
did
think
it come close.
I think there might be, like, two things after that.
But it
Oh,
was
the only
not
thing that I
good.
feel is worse than Netflix's Death Note was Young Van Helsing.
Oh yeah,
That's the only thing I
Death
have
Note,
after-
Even though it did have some music numbers, like band shit, it didn't have like a fucking 15-minute music video.
I know.
If
It
it,
was just
did,
weird.
Death
Like,
Note would be way
oh
at the
yeah,
bottom.
it would definitely, like, it was just, I hated that movie, like, and very rarely do I actually, like, hate a movie. I can normally find something I like in it. That one,
It bothered
No
me
thanks.
that like a movie like adaptation that like wasn't Disney,
right.
based off like another material like a video game
Mm-hmm.
or a cartoon was still bad, because I remember them being bad but also kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Way back in
they
the
were
90s.
They were bad, but, like, in a way that you're like, oh, you know, I can see that video game, like Mortal Kombat.
Exactly.
It's a video game that a lot of us grew up with. Like, very rarely do you meet someone that doesn't know what Mortal Kombat is.
Yeah.
So when they turn Mortal Kombat, which is a fighter game,
Yeah.
into a movie, it's going to be cheesy, but also kind of enjoyable.
Yeah. I feel like it really could have been better if it had an R rating.
Yeah.
Show some of the fatalities, not just
Yeah.
a slow motion
Like-
fall off a cliff. Fatality.
Okay, so this movie, I don't remember if I was sick. I think I wasn't feeling well when we watched this movie. But we were watching the movie, and again, it was over the phone during quarantine, and I like kept falling asleep. So I was trying so hard to stay awake, and then I heard finish him, and I was like, that's all I wanted. And I like faded away.
That's all I wanted.
I know. And then like I think you like clapped into the phone, and it like startled me back awake, and I was like, no, I'm good. And then that's when we see like Scorpio emerge.
Scorpion, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like
Sub-Zero.
I know, and I was like, oh, okay, it's good again. And then I waited until I heard finish him, and I was like, that's all I wanted. Like
it's a dumb plot,
Yeah.
and sometimes it takes itself too serious, or I'm just like, it's a video game, just get on with it. Get to the next action piece, please. But damn it all, does it not have a banger of a theme song?
I know, it does.
The Mortal Kombat song is like the greatest thing to come from that movie.
I hate that I enjoyed it. Like, I rewatched it when I was awake and I was feeling better. And it's just like, I hate that I enjoyed it. Like, it's not very high on my list.
It's a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah. It's like the equivalent of trash TV. So it's like, it's one that like you're almost embarrassed to say you like it. Because it's still not a very great movie.
But there's a charm in there.
There
which Death
is.
Notes, Netflix
Missed the point.
Netflix's Death Notes, Holly, does not have.
The dumpster fire from Netflix. Yeah, I like the Mortal Kombat movie. To me, brought back a lot of memories of playing Mortal Kombat. And that's what makes it enjoyable. So it's like if you've never played Mortal Kombat, you can know. I
could tell the actors were having fun.
Yeah, it was like. Because they try to explain, like, how the characters got to where they are. And it's just, like, when you see, like, Johnny and you're just like, that's how he became Johnny. Like, it's just a weird little movie that's fun and nostalgic to watch.
Yeah.
So
there we go. That was basically all we wanted to explain here.
Yeah.
There's so much more we can talk about. And I'm sure if it's just like, well, wait, why is this... Leave a comment.
Yeah.
We'll most likely address it in a video of its own. Quite a few of these we're actually planning videos, so we're kind of like keeping our mouths shut to, kind of like not spoil the secret.
Make sure that we get everything in their own videos. Like, anyone who is watching them scroll across the bottom, I'm sure you've seen SpongeBob, and it's like that's something that we're planning for this year. Is something a little bit better than just a 2-minute blurb about why we like SpongeBob.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of really fun things that we have planned for this year.
We do.
So just being patient with us, and especially keep sending your requests. We do have them, and we are currently working on them. We did not forget about you guys.
No.
So they're on the list of things to do, along with like different holiday specials that we have, as well as something that we want to work on this year is a project with like our favorite actors, our favorite directors.
Yeah, we want to do more tributes similar to the Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, just
because that was well received and we had a lot of fun making it.
Yeah, and it's nice to show who we love and to kind of like get to talk to people who love them as well. So lots of those things planned for this year.
Yeah, so here we go. Another year. We also have a special for our 1-year anniversary of Pupcorn, which will be at the end of this summer, so you got that to look forward to. And if you have any comments, suggestions, maybe when we do this again next year, we'll do something a little different, just let us know. And we're always free to experiment and
definitely,
move things
and
around.
have fun. So
thank you guys so much for checking out this enormous special, but it means so much for
to us. To kind of get to share our first year together with you guys.
So take care, everyone.
Toodles.